Admiral Lee Daeho walked through the long hallway toward the council chamber. His black uniform was clean and pressed. The silver stars on his shoulders caught the light from the crystal walls. Behind him, Dr. Park So-min carried a thick folder of research papers. Captain Kim Tae-sung followed them both, his hand resting on his weapon. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. It could hold thousands of beings from 47 different worlds. The ceiling was so high that clouds formed near the top. Rainbow lights danced across the walls, showing the beauty of alien technology that humans still did not fully understand. Lee had been to this place many times in the past 5 years. Each time he hoped things would be different. Each time he left feeling more frustrated than before. Today was different, though. Today, people were dying. The Void Plague had started 3 months ago on a mining world called Kepler 442b. The sickness spread fast, killing everything it touched. Plants died. Animals died. People died. The disease moved from world to world like wildfire. Humans had seen something like this before. On Earth, they called it the Red Death. It had killed millions before human doctors found a way to stop it. The cure was not pretty, but it worked. Fast action, strong medicine, and complete quarantine of sick areas. Dr. Park had spent weeks studying the Void Plague. She found that it was almost the same as the Red Death. The cure would work, but only if they acted quickly. The session will begin soon, Captain Kim said quietly. Are you ready? Lee nodded. He had practiced his speech many times. The words were simple and clear. Quarantine the sick worlds. Use human medicine to fight the disease. Save lives first. Ask questions later. The chamber doors opened with a sound like thunder. Beings from across the galaxy took their seats. The Saurians sat in the front rows, their green scales shining under the lights. Counselor Vextar was their leader, an old reptile who had lived for over 200 years. Behind the Saurians sat the Luminari, beings made of pure light who barely had solid form. They spoke in colors and music instead of words. Translation machines turned their songs into speech that others could understand. High Arbiter Kulin floated in the center of the chamber. She was made of living crystal, older than any other being in the room. Her voice sounded like wind chimes when she spoke. The emergency session begins, Kulin announced. The matter before us is the Void Plague spreading through the outer systems. Admiral Lee Daeho of Earth will present the human proposal. Lee stood and walked to the center of the chamber. All eyes turned to him. Some looked curious. Others looked annoyed that their time was being wasted. Honored counselors, Lee began. The Void Plague has already killed 3 billion beings on 7 worlds. Our research shows it will spread to 20 more worlds within the next month unless we act now. He gestured to Dr. Park, who opened her folder. Dr. Park So-min has found that this plague is similar to a disease humans faced on Earth. We know how to stop it, but we must move quickly. Dr. Park stepped forward. The plague spreads through air and water. It can live outside a host for up to 6 days. Current council protocols call for observation and study before action. This approach will allow the plague to spread too far to contain. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some council members looked interested, but others seemed bored. We propose immediate quarantine of all affected systems, Lee continued. Medical ships with human-developed treatments should be sent to every infected world. We can save millions of lives if we act today. Counselor Vextar's laugh was like a hiss. Humans have been in space for barely 100 years. What could you possibly know that we do not? The Saurian Empire has faced plagues for thousands of years. Patience and careful study are the only ways to find true solutions. A luminary representative began glowing brighter. The translation machine turned their light into words. Human methods are too aggressive. They lack the wisdom that comes with age. Quick actions often create bigger problems. Lee felt his jaw tighten. Quick action saved Earth from the Red Death. Slow action would have killed everyone. Earth is one small world, said another council member. A being that looked like a walking tree. The galaxy is vast and complex. Your simple solutions will not work here. Dr. Park tried to speak. If you would just look at our research data. Interesting, but not relevant, interrupted Vextar. Humans think every problem can be solved with force and chemicals. Some challenges require deeper understanding. Lee watched as council member after council member dismissed their proposal. The vote was not even close. 43 species voted against the human plan. Only 3 voted in favor. 1 abstained. High Arbiter. Kulin's crystal body dimmed. The council has decided. We will follow traditional protocols. Study groups will be formed. Reports will be written. A solution will be found through careful deliberation. How long will that take? Lee asked. As long as necessary, Kulin replied. Perhaps 6 months, maybe a year. By then, the plague will have spread to every world in this sector, Dr. Park said. Billions more will die. Vextar stood on his hind legs, making himself look taller. Perhaps the human membership trial period should be reconsidered. Species that cannot accept council wisdom may not belong here. The chamber fell silent. Other council members looked uncomfortable, but no one spoke against Vextar's words. Lee felt something cold settle in his chest. He had come here believing in cooperation. He thought different species could work together to solve problems. He was wrong. I see, Lee said quietly. His voice carried clearly through the silent chamber. We came here believing in partnership and mutual respect. We thought that good ideas could come from anyone, regardless of age or species. We were mistaken. He turned to face the entire council. Humans offered our knowledge freely, hoping to save lives. You have made it clear that our knowledge is not wanted. We accept your decision. Lee walked toward the exit. Dr. Park and Captain Kim followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the huge chamber. Admiral, Kulin called after him. Where? Are you going? Lee stopped at the door but did not turn around. To save the humans we can. Since the council prefers traditional methods, we will solve this problem using human methods. You cannot act without council approval, Vextar warned. We will not act in council space, Lee replied. Only in human space. Good day, councilors. The 3 humans left the chamber. Behind them, council members began arguing about procedures and protocols. Lee did not look back. Outside, Captain Kim spoke first. That could have gone better. Dr. Park clutched her research folder. They would not even listen to the science. How can they make decisions without looking at the facts? Lee stared up at the alien sky of Nexus Prime. Strange colors swirled in the atmosphere, beautiful but cold. They have been making decisions the same way for thousands of years. They see no reason to change now. What do we do now? Kim asked. Lee smiled, but it was not a happy smile. We go home, we protect our people, and we remember this day. As they walked toward their ship, Lee made a mental note to send a message to Earth. It was time to start Protocol Exodus. The humans were going home. 3 months had passed since the council meeting. Admiral Lee Dae-ho stood in his office on Luna Station, looking at reports from across human space. The numbers were good, too good for what they were really doing. Director Choi Ye-jin knocked on his door. The morning briefing is ready, Admiral. Lee nodded and followed her to the secure meeting room. The walls were lined with metal that blocked all signals. No one could listen to what they said here. Around the table sat the leaders of humanity's secret plan. Professor Nam Jun-ho looked tired from working day and night on his research. Commander Yoon Mi-young had dark circles under her eyes from organizing the biggest movement of people in human history. Status report, Lee said as he sat down. Director Choi opened her tablet. 73% of human civilians have been moved from mixed species worlds. We are calling it routine rotation of personnel. So far, no one has asked questions. The Deltan Trade Authority asked why we are reducing staff on Kepler Station. Commander Yoon added. I told them we are reorganizing our operations for better efficiency. Lee smiled. Humans were good at making excuses that sounded reasonable. What about our research partnerships? Professor Nam cleared his throat. All human scientists have withdrawn from joint projects. We cited budget concerns and new priorities back on Earth. The Karathi asked the most questions, but they accepted our explanations. Good. What about trade agreements? We are fulfilling every contract exactly as written, Director Choi said. But we are not signing new ones. When current agreements end, we simply say we are reviewing our trade policies. Everything was going according to plan. Protocol Exodus was simple in theory but complex in practice. Move every human out of council space. End all partnerships and agreements legally. Make it look like normal business decisions, not preparation for something bigger. How? Is the special project coming? Lee asked Professor Nam. The scientist's eyes lit up. Better than expected. The council species said faster than light travel beyond current speeds was impossible. They were wrong. We have achieved speeds 30% faster than any council ship. How? They think too much about why something should not work. Humans try things to see if they will work. We tested 17 different approaches that the council called theoretically unsound. 3 of them worked. Commander Yoon leaned forward. When will the new ships be ready? 6 months for the first prototype. 1 year for a full fleet, Professor Nam replied. Lee nodded. What about our defensive preparations? All human colonies now have shield generators and weapon systems, Commander Yoon said. We are calling them asteroid defense systems and solar storm protection. The real purpose is to defend against any species that might try to force us back into council agreements. Director Choi looked worried. Are we sure this is the right path? Once we take the final step, there will be no going back. Lee was quiet for a moment. He thought about the council meeting 3 months ago, the dismissive looks, the insults, the threat to end humanity's membership trial. The council made their position clear, he said finally. They do not want human ideas or human participation. They want us to sit quietly and follow their ancient ways. That is not who we are. But what if we are wrong? Director Choi asked. What if we are making a mistake? Professor Nam spoke up. The void plague has now spread to 15 worlds. The council is still studying it. Their traditional methods are not working. Human colonies that used our quarantine protocols have had 0 infections. We are not wrong about this. Lee stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. Humanity's first home. The place where they had learned to solve problems through action, not endless discussion. How many species have contacted us privately? He asked. Commander Yoon checked her notes. 17 species have sent unofficial messages. They are interested in our medical research, our technology, and our trade proposals. None of them are major council powers. The younger species, Director Choi observed. The ones without much voice in council decisions. Exactly, Lee said. They see what we see. The old ways are not working, but they cannot speak freely in the council. An aide entered the room and handed Lee a secure message pad. He read it quickly, then looked up at the others. It is time, he said. Dr. Park has finished preparing our formal withdrawal notice. Legal review confirms it follows all proper protocols. The room fell silent. They had all known this moment would come, but it still felt shocking. Once we submit this, everything changes, Director Choi said. Everything already changed 3 months ago, Lee replied. We are just making it official. He picked up his pen and signed the authorization. Send the notice to High Arbiter Quilin. Inform all human colonies that we are now independent. Begin Phase 2 of Protocol Exodus. 1 week later, the withdrawal notice arrived at the council chamber on Nexus Prime. High Arbiter Quilin read it 3 times before she understood what it meant. No species had ever voluntarily left the Galactic Council. The idea was so strange that there were barely any rules about how to handle it. Counselor Vextar was furious when he heard the news. This is impossible. They cannot simply leave. Actually, they can, Quilin said quietly. The protocols are ancient, but they are clear. Any species may withdraw from council membership by giving proper notice and claiming sovereignty over their current territories. Their territories? Vextar's eyes widened. They control 17 star systems. 18, corrected another council member who had been reading the notice carefully. They claim New Geneva as well. The Luminari representative began glowing. With agitation, their translator turned the light into worried words. This will create problems. Other species may want to leave as well. No one would be foolish enough to leave the council, Vextar said. Humans are just having an emotional reaction. They will come back when they realize they need us. But privately, some council members were not so sure. The human withdrawal notice included something that made them nervous. It listed every trade agreement, research partnership, and mutual defense pact that humanity was ending. The list was much longer than anyone had realized. Humans had been quietly involved in hundreds of projects across council space. They had provided innovation, energy, and fresh ideas to species that had been doing things the same way for centuries. Heim. Arbiter Kalin called an emergency session to discuss the situation. The chamber felt different without the human delegation. Their seats sat empty, a reminder of what had been lost. We must respond to this human action, Vextar declared. They cannot be allowed to simply walk away from their responsibilities. What responsibilities? Asked a representative of the Nexar Confederation. They fulfilled every agreement exactly as written. They broke no laws and violated no treaties. The responsibility to participate in galactic civilization. They tried to participate, said another voice. We told them their ideas were not welcome. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species blamed humanity for abandoning their duties. Others questioned whether the council had driven them away through arrogance and dismissal. High Arbiter. Kulin tried to restore order, but the damage was done. Doubt had entered the council chamber. For the first time in thousands of years, member species were openly questioning council decisions. Meanwhile, in human space, Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the first new starship built with improved, faster-than-light technology. The ship was sleek and powerful, unlike anything the council had ever seen. "Where to, Admiral?" asked the ship's captain. Lee smiled as he looked at the star charts. Beyond council space lay unexplored regions full of possibilities. New worlds to discover, new species to meet, new partnerships to build based on respect and cooperation, rather than ancient hierarchies. "Set course for the outer rim," he ordered. "It is time to see what else is out there." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving council space behind. Lee did not look back. 6 months after humanity left the council, Ambassador Jiang Minsu received his 15th secret message of the week. This one came from the Corvin Republic, a species that controlled 6 star systems on the edge of council space. "We wish to discuss mutual cooperation outside council oversight," the message read. "Our leadership believes the traditional methods are failing our people." Jiang sat in his office on New Geneva, humanity's newest colony world. Through his window, he could see construction robots building a city that would house 10 million people within 2 years. Human engineering made things that once seemed impossible look easy. His assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, Admiral Ko Hyunwoo is here for the briefing." Admiral Ko entered with a serious expression. He was the new commander of Human Defense Forces, chosen specifically because he understood how to fight differently than the council expected. "What is the status?" Jiang asked. "Not good for the council," Admiral Ko replied. "The Void Plague has reached their core systems. 37 worlds are now infected. The death count is over 50 billion and rising." Jiang felt sick. Even though the council had rejected human help, he did not enjoy watching people die. "What about our colonies?" "0 infections. Our quarantine protocols are working perfectly. Every human world is protected." This was the terrible irony of the situation. Human colonies, using the same medical techniques the council had called primitive, remained completely safe, while council worlds died from a plague they could have stopped months ago. "How many species have contacted us privately?" Jiang asked. "Admiral," Ko consulted his tablet. 32 species have sent unofficial messages, 14 have requested formal meetings, 6 have already signed preliminary agreements with us." "What kind of agreements?" "Trade partnerships based on fair exchange instead of council hierarchy. Research sharing where both sides contribute equally." Mutual defense pacts that do not require submission to ancient authority structures. Jiang nodded. This was what humans had wanted from the beginning, real partnerships with equal respect. The Council had refused to offer this, so humanity was building it elsewhere. Dr. Xin Hiejin arrived for the meeting carrying a device that looked like a simple black box. Her discovery 3 months ago had changed everything. "Show me the new communication system," Jiang said. Dr. Xin activated the device. Instantly, holographic images appeared in the air. Real-time conversations with human officials on 17 different worlds. "Quantum entanglement communication," she explained. "Messages travel instantly across any distance." The Council said this was impossible because it violated their understanding of physics. They were wrong again. Admiral Ko smiled. "This technology has made our alliance incredibly efficient. We can coordinate activities across hundreds of light years as if everyone was in the same room." On the holographic display, Jiang could see reports from across human space. New colonies were being established faster than anyone thought possible. Terraforming technology was turning dead worlds into gardens in months instead of decades. Scientific breakthroughs happened weekly instead of yearly. "What is the Council doing about our expansion?" Jiang asked. "Panicking," Admiral Ko replied. "They sent diplomatic missions to 3 of our new colonies last week. We politely declined to meet with them." "How did they react?" High Arbiter Kulin sent a personal message requesting dialogue. I sent back a 1-sentence reply. The Galactic Council chose exclusion. Humanity respects that choice. Jiang appreciated the simple elegance of that response. No anger, no insults, just a clear statement of fact. Dr. Xin brought up another holographic display. "Our intelligence network is reporting interesting developments in Council space." The display showed a map of the galaxy with different colors representing political control. Council territory was shrinking while a new color, representing humanity's alliance, greed was expanding rapidly. 12 species have formally left the Council to join us, Dr. Xin said. 23 more are considering it. The younger species are tired of being ignored by the ancient powers. "What about the older species?" Jiang asked. Admiral Ko's expression darkened. "Councillor Vextar's faction is talking about military action. They believe they can force humanity and our allies back into the Council. Can they? No. Our new ship designs are faster and more powerful than anything in the Council fleet. Our shield technology is based on principles they do not understand. If they attack us, they will lose badly." Jiang felt a moment of sadness. He had hoped things would never come to violence. But the Council seemed determined to solve every problem the same way they always had, through force and intimidation. "Are we ready if they try something?" he asked. "More than ready," Admiral Ko replied. "Fleet Admiral Park Jinwoo has been preparing our defenses for months. We have advantages the Council cannot imagine." Dr. Xin activated another display showing deep space beyond the galaxy's edge. "Admiral Park's exploration fleets have discovered something amazing out there." The display showed massive structures floating in the void between galaxies. They looked artificial but were clearly ancient beyond human understanding. "What are they?" Jiang asked. "We are not sure yet, but they appear to be some kind of gateway system. If we can understand how they work, we might be able to travel to other galaxies entirely." Admiral Ko whistled softly. "The Council has been telling everyone for thousands of years that this galaxy is all there is. If they are wrong about that too, it would change everything," Jiang finished. Again, a priority message alert sounded. Dr. Xin checked the communication system and her face grew serious. "What is it?" Jiang asked. "Emergency transmission from Nexus Prime. High Arbiter Kulin is requesting an immediate meeting with human leadership. She says the Council is willing to offer unprecedented concessions for our return." Admiral Ko laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Too little, too late. They waited until their civilization was collapsing before they decided we might have something useful to offer. Jiang considered the request carefully. Part of him wanted to refuse immediately. The Council had had their chance and wasted it. But another part wondered if there might be innocent people who could still be saved. "What kind of concessions is she offering?" he asked. Dr. Shin read from the message. "Full restoration of human council membership with enhanced voting rights, human representatives on all major committees, adoption of human protocols for plague response, and," she paused, "a formal apology for past treatment." "An apology," Admiral Ko said sarcastically. "How generous of them." Jiang stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could see ships from a dozen different species working together to build something new. The Karathi were installing mining equipment while Nexar engineers designed better power systems. Everyone contributed what they did best, and everyone benefited from the results. This was what cooperation looked like when it was based on respect instead of hierarchy. It was what the Council could have had if they had been willing to treat humanity as equals instead of junior partners who should be grateful for any attention. "Send a reply to High Arbiter Kulin," Jiang said finally. "What should it say?" Dr. Shin asked. Jiang turned back to face them. "Tell her that humanity appreciates the offer, but we have moved beyond the need for council membership. We have found partners who value our contributions and respect our capabilities. The future we are building together is better than anything the council ever offered us." "That is going to make them very angry," Admiral Ko warned. "Good," Jiang replied. "Maybe anger will motivate them to change faster than desperation did." As the message was sent across space to Nexus Prime, Jiang wondered how the Council would react. Would they finally accept that their ancient ways were not working? Or would they choose violence over adaptation? Either way, humanity was ready. They had learned from the Council's rejection and built something stronger. Now it was time to see if the Council could learn from humanity's success. 2 years had passed since humanity left the Galactic Council. Prime Minister Yang Da-un stood on the observation deck of New Terra's Capitol building, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that never existed on Earth. This world was humanity's masterpiece. A perfect planet created from a dead rock using technology the Council said was impossible. Dr. Ryu Subin joined her at the window. The terraforming expert looked tired but satisfied. "The atmospheric processors are running perfectly. We will have our first harvest next month." "How long did the Council say this should take?" Yang asked. "Their estimates suggested 50 years minimum for a world this size. We did it in 18 months. Yang smiled. Another impossible thing humans managed to accomplish. Below them, the city sprawled in all directions. Buildings rose from the ground like growing trees, their walls alive with plants that cleaned the air and produced food. Streets flowed in gentle curves that followed the natural landscape instead of cutting through it. It was beautiful and practical at the same time. Very human. Fleet Admiral Park Jin-woo's voice came through the communication system. "Prime Minister, we have a situation developing." Yang and Dr. Ryu went to the command center where holographic displays showed the entire galaxy. Red zones marked Council territory, which had shrunk dramatically over the past 2 years. Blue zones showed the Commonwealth, humanity's alliance, which now included 60 star systems and 53 different species. "What is happening?" Yang asked. Admiral Park pointed to a fleet of ships moving toward Commonwealth space. "Counselor Vexitar has convinced the remaining Council species to launch a military expedition. They claim we are illegally occupying systems that belong to the galaxy as a whole." "How many ships?" 3,000 vessels from 12 different species. It is the largest fleet the Council has assembled in over a century. Dr. Ryu looked worried. "Can we defend against that many ships?" Admiral Park's expression was confident. "More than defend. Our technology has advanced so far beyond theirs that this will not even be a fair fight. But I wanted your permission before we demonstrate exactly how far." Yang considered carefully. She had hoped to avoid direct military confrontation with the Council. Violence would prove nothing except that humans could fight. But if the Council forced the issue, humanity would respond. "Rules of engagement?" she asked. "Disable their ships, without killing unless they leave us no choice. Capture their leadership if possible. Show them exactly why attacking us was a mistake." "Approved. But Admiral, try to minimize casualties. Many of those crews are just following orders. Admiral. Park nodded and began issuing commands. Commonwealth fleets moved to intercept the Council forces near the border between the two territories. Yang watched the tactical displays with growing amazement. Commonwealth ships moved with impossible speed and coordination. Their quantum communication systems allowed instant planning across hundreds of light years. Their new shield technology made them nearly invulnerable to Council weapons. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Council ships found themselves surrounded by Commonwealth vessels that appeared from nowhere, using stealth technology the Council had never seen. Their weapons bounced harmlessly off Commonwealth shields while electromagnetic pulses disabled their engines and weapon systems. Councillor Vextar's flagship was boarded by human marines who captured him without firing a single shot. The entire Council fleet was neutralized with 0 casualties on either side. "Bring Vextar here," Yang ordered. "It is time for a conversation." 3 hours later, Councillor Vextar stood in the Commonwealth Command Center as a prisoner. His reptilian features showed shock and disbelief. Around him, holographic displays showed the complete defeat of his fleet. "This is impossible," he said for the 5th time. "Council technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." "Was the most advanced," Yang corrected gently. "That was 2 years ago. We have moved beyond what you thought was possible." Dr. Ryu activated a display showing Commonwealth territory. "Would you like to see what we have built while you were debating traditional approaches?" The display showed 60 worlds, each one thriving in ways the Council had never achieved. Dead planets transformed into gardens, asteroid belts converted into massive manufacturing centers, populations that had been dying from the Void Plague now healthy and growing. The Nexar Confederation increased their agricultural output by 400% after joining us, Dr. Ryu explained. The Karathi Republic solved their energy crisis in 6 months using human fusion technology. The Deltans have established colonies in 3 new systems. Vextar stared at the displays. "How is this possible? You have only been independent for 2 years. "Because we do not waste time arguing about why new ideas will not work," Yang replied. "We test them to see if they will work. When someone has a good idea, we try it instead of dismissing it because it came from the wrong species." Admiral Park joined them with a report. "Council space is in complete chaos. The Void Plague has reached Nexus Prime itself. Their government is barely functioning. Economic systems are collapsing as more species leave to join us." "How many species remain in the Council?" Yang asked. 14, down from 47 when we left. Vextar's shoulders slumped. "This cannot be happening." Yang felt sympathy for the old reptile despite everything he had done. "It did not have to happen this way. We offered to work together. We wanted to share our knowledge and learn from yours. You chose exclusion over cooperation. But we were the advanced civilizations. We had thousands of years of experience." "Experience doing things that did not work very well," Dr. Ryu said. "Age does not automatically create wisdom. Sometimes fresh perspectives solve old problems." Yang activated another display showing the ancient structures Admiral Park's exploration fleets had discovered beyond the galaxy's edge. "We have found things out there that change everything we thought we knew about the universe. Gateways to other galaxies. Technologies that make faster-than-light travel look primitive. Evidence of civilizations that rose and fell millions of years ago." Vextar's eyes widened. "The Council said nothing existed beyond this galaxy." "The Council was wrong about many things," Yang replied. "Just as they were wrong about human potential." A priority message arrived from High Arbiter Kulin. Her crystalline image appeared in hologram form, looking more fragmented than Yang had ever seen her. "Prime Minister Yang," Kulin said formally, "I come to you not as a representative of the Council, but as someone who recognizes that our ancient ways have failed. I request permission to come to New Terra personally to discuss terms for surrender." The word hung in the air like a physical thing. The Galactic Council, which had ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years, was admitting defeat to a species they had dismissed as primitive just 2 years ago. Yang looked at Vextar, who seemed to age decades in that moment. She thought about all the beings who had died from the Void Plague while the council debated. She thought about the species who had been silenced by ancient hierarchies. She thought about the potential that had been wasted by arrogance and tradition. "Tell High Arbiter Kalin she may come," Yang said finally. "But not to discuss surrender, to discuss how we can help the innocent people still suffering under council policies." "You would help us?" Vexitar asked, amazement in his voice. "After everything we did to you?" Yang turned back to the window, looking out at the perfect world humanity had built from nothing. "That is what cooperation means, Counselor. Even when others do not deserve it, we help because it is the right thing to do. But there will be conditions," Admiral Park added firmly. "Any worlds we help must adopt Commonwealth principles. No more hierarchies based on age or species. No more dismissing ideas without testing them. Real cooperation between equals." Vextar was quiet for a long moment. Finally he spoke. "The Council will never accept such terms." "Then the Council will continue to fail," Yang replied. "But there, people do not have to fail with them." As they watched, more species formally announced their departure from the Council to join the Commonwealth. Soon, Yang realized, there might not be a council left to surrender. 5 years after humanity left the Galactic Council, Admiral Lee Daeho walked slowly through the Memorial Garden on New Terra. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but his eyes still held the same determination they had shown in the Council chamber so long ago. The garden honored those who had died from the Void Plague while the Council debated, 57 billion beings from dozens of species. Each death represented someone the Commonwealth could have saved if the Council had acted on human advice. Dr. Bei Yong-ho found Lee sitting on a bench beneath a tree that bore fruit from 7 different worlds. The scientist looked excited, which usually meant another breakthrough that would change everything. "Admiral, we have made contact," Dr. Bei said quietly. "Contact with whom?" "The beings who built the ancient gateways. They exist in parallel dimensions and we have found a way to communicate with them." Lee raised an eyebrow. "What do they want?" "To meet the species that finally figured out how to activate their technology. They have been waiting for thousands of years for someone to reach their level of understanding." This was typical human luck. The Council had ignored the ancient structures for millennia, calling them too dangerous to investigate. Humans had spent 3 years studying them and not only activated them but made contact with their builders. "What have we learned from them?" Lee asked. "That this galaxy is just one small part of a vast network of civilizations. The gateways connect millions of galaxies, each with its own unique species and technologies. We are being invited to join a community that spans the entire universe." Lee smiled. "I assume the Council was not invited?" The interdimensional beings studied Council behavior for thousands of years. They concluded that species unable to cooperate with their own galaxy neighbors would not be suitable for universal community membership. Admiral Hong Soo-jin approached them with a tablet full of reports. She commanded the Commonwealth's exploration. Fleets and had spent the past year mapping the Gateway network. "The first diplomatic mission to another galaxy returns today," she announced. "They bring representatives from 12 different galactic civilizations." "All interested in Commonwealth membership?" Lee asked. "All impressed by what we have accomplished here. They want to learn how we built such a successful multi-species alliance so quickly." Lee thought about that question often. How had humanity succeeded where the Council had failed? The answer was simple but profound. They had treated everyone as equals and judged ideas by their merit rather than their source. Chancellor Lim Hyun-ji joined them in the garden. As head of Commonwealth Foreign Affairs, she had been busy managing requests from species across the galaxy who wanted to join their alliance. "Status report," Lee requested. "The Commonwealth now includes 112 star systems and 78 different species," Lim said. "We are receiving new membership applications faster than we can process them." "What about the old Council territory?" "Only 5 species remain loyal to the traditional Council structure. They control 8 star systems total. High Arbiter Krillin has requested another meeting." Lee had been expecting this. The old crystalline being had made several attempts to negotiate some kind of reconciliation over the past few years. Each time she offered more concessions and received the same answer. "What is she offering this time?" he asked. "Complete dissolution of the old council structure. Adoption of Commonwealth principles throughout their remaining territory. She wants to discuss terms for their full integration into our alliance." Dr. Bay looked surprised. "She is willing to give up everything the council stood for?" "The council stood for hierarchy, tradition, and resistance to change," Lim replied. "Those things do not work anymore, even she can see that." Admiral Hong checked her tablet. "The ships from the other galaxies are requesting permission to land. Should I bring their representatives here?" Lee nodded. He was curious to meet beings from civilizations that had watched the Council's failures and humanity's success from across the vast emptiness between galaxies. An hour later, the garden hosted the strangest diplomatic meeting in human history. Beings of crystal, energy, and forms that had no names shared the space with humans, Karathi, Deltans, and dozens of other Commonwealth species. The leader of the interdimensional delegation spoke through a translation device that turned thoughts directly into words. "We have observed your species for a short time by our standards," the being said. "Your rapid advancement and successful cooperation impressed us greatly. We wish to offer Commonwealth membership in the universal community." "What does that mean?" Lee asked. "Access to technologies and knowledge from millions of civilizations, trade opportunities spanning countless galaxies, protection under universal community law, and responsibility to help younger civilizations develop their own cooperative abilities." Lee looked around at the diverse group gathered in the garden. A year ago, many of these species had been enemies or strangers. Now they worked together as partners, each contributing their unique strengths to benefit everyone. "What about the old council species?" he asked. "The ones who are willing to change?" "Individual species may apply for universal community membership if they demonstrate genuine commitment to cooperative principles, but applications will be judged by results, not promises." Chancellor Lim stepped forward. "We accept your invitation with one condition. Any Commonwealth species that wants to participate in universal community activities should be included. We do not leave our partners behind." The interdimensional being seemed pleased by this response. "This attitude is why we believe your alliance will succeed where others have failed. Cooperation benefits everyone or it benefits no one." As the formal ceremonies concluded, Lee found himself alone with High Arbiter Kulin. The ancient crystal being had arrived quietly during the universal community meeting, watching from the edges of the garden. "I have come to offer my personal apology," she said, her voice like distant chimes. "Not as High Arbiter, but as someone who lived long enough to recognize wisdom when she finally sees it." Lee studied her carefully. "What do you want, Kulin?" "Nothing for myself. My time is ending, but there are innocent beings in the remaining council systems who deserve better than slow death from our failures. I ask you to consider them when deciding our fate." Lee was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the council chamber where this all began. The dismissive attitudes, the threats, the wasted opportunities. He also thought about the children he had seen playing in Commonwealth schools, beings from dozens of species learning together without prejudice. "The Commonwealth will accept any species that genuinely commits to our principles," he said finally. "But commitment must be proven through actions, not words. There will be a probationary period, there will be oversight, and there will be consequences for any attempt to return to the old ways." Kulin's crystal body brightened. "You would give us another chance? I would give your people another chance. You, personally, are responsible for billions of deaths through your stubborn refusal to act on good advice. That is not something I can forgive easily. I understand I do not ask for forgiveness for myself, only for the chance to see my people survive under better leadership." Lee stood and walked to the edge of the garden, where he could see the city spreading into the distance. Humans, aliens, and artificial intelligences worked together to build something unprecedented in galactic history, a true cooperative civilization. The universal community representative was right about one thing, he said. Cooperation benefits everyone, or it benefits no one. We will help your people learn to cooperate, But this is the last chance they will get. Qlin bowed her crystalline head. Thank you. As she left, Lee remained in the garden watching the sunset. Dr. Bay joined him again, carrying news of another breakthrough. The gateway to the Andromeda Galaxy is fully operational, the scientist reported. Our first colony ship departs next week. How many volunteers? 50,000 beings from 30 different species, all committed to building Commonwealth principles in a new galaxy. Lee smiled. 5 years ago, humanity had been dismissed as too young and too aggressive for galactic civilization. Now they were leading an expansion into the universe itself, carrying the message that cooperation worked better than hierarchy. Admiral, Dr. Bay said quietly, do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Council had accepted our original proposals? Lee considered the question. We would have saved 57 billion lives from the Void Plague. We would have been junior partners in someone else's ancient system instead of leaders in our own alliance. We would have learned to follow instead of learning to lead. Do you think it worked out better this way? Lee looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Among them were hundreds of worlds where former enemies now worked as partners. Beyond them lay other galaxies where the Commonwealth would spread the message that cooperation was stronger than competition. The Council taught us an important lesson, he said finally, that sometimes the best response to rejection is not to fight for acceptance, but to build something better. They wanted us to be grateful for whatever scraps of respect they chose to give us. Instead, we learned to respect ourselves. A group of children ran past them in the garden. Human, Delton, Korathi.